Welcome to my channel. My name's Kristen and my channel's Quilter Chris, and I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for joining me. Today I wanted to talk about patterns. Where do you get them? What kind of patterns should you look for? Where do you get your patterns? I would love to hear in the comments. Also, as you're watching this video, if you get anything out of this, I would love it if you would like and subscribe. Anyway, let's get to the video. Patterns. There are a bunch you can find online. And do you have favorite ones? Do you have favorite designers that you go to? Well, of course, you can always go to your local quilt shop. They have tons of patterns. The internet has bunches of free patterns on there. But then there's also the patterns that you might buy online from like Etsy or from the designer directly. Then we get into pattern books and pattern magazines. Do you get any of those? I don't get any magazines really anymore, but I was going to kind of discuss the patterns that I get and what I look for in a pattern and what I like. So I've been quilting for a long time. I've been quilting since 1999 and I've gone through a lot of patterns. For the most part, I try not to repeat the same pattern twice. At the very least, I try not to repeat it in the same way we look for in a pattern. A lot of your patterns that you get at the quilt store will look like this. It's smaller. It talks about the front. It shows the picture on the front of the pattern, and on the back, it will give the fabric requirements. These are great. If you really like a pattern, you can use this over and over again, right? And this one gives you a good idea of what it looks like with two different colorways. So that's super helpful. And then it talks about what you need on the back. So that's one way. It's very similar to that are these bigger patterns. And these bigger patterns, they're the same, but it's much easier to read on the back. We can kind of see the difference. And as we get older, at least I do, I really like the bigger prints. Sometimes these are bigger because they have like a pull-out design inside them. Sometimes they're just bigger because that's how the designer liked it. Sometimes they're bigger because it's just how they print out. So those are great. The my next favorite way to get patterns is pattern books. So this is a paper piece pattern book, and this pattern books, they will often have several of the patterns on the cover, which if you're looking on Amazon or a site like that, you can get a good idea of what's in there, but you don't always have the directions ready, and on the back it doesn't tell you the fabric requirements. So these are really fun. I think when they're thicker like this, you get some really good ideas about different patterns and how they go together. Usually in these books, you can get them with multiple designers. So you get a broad, you get a very diverse pattern selection, right? So you get a lot of different patterns in there. This book is one kind of technique, but some books will have multiple techniques in them. Something I bought a few years ago, which may seem kind of strange, but it was fun to me. So these are Japanese quilt books, which is strange because the title is in English, but here you can see it down here, it's in Japanese. Now, I have a couple of these. These are the two that I brought to show today. I have a couple of these, and the reason I like them is because although they're in Japanese, let me see if you can see that. Although they're in Japanese, the pattern itself, these are applique patterns. The appliques are good in any language, right? So it doesn't it talks about the author here, and I'm pretty sure this is Japanese. I apologize if it's Korean or a different language I didn't know, but I think these are so fun, and I love this designer. And you can see she gives a really good visual interpretation of how the pattern goes together. So those are fun. This is the other one that I've gotten, and this is also in a foreign language. Again, Japanese, I believe. But she uses a lot of pictures to explain how she's doing it. And honestly, for me, since I've been quilting a while, doing applique, I have a very specific way that I do that. So I don't necessarily need the instructions, but I really like the pictures and I like her designs. You can see them here, how she puts those together. And so I got these on eBay a few years ago. This one's called Story Quilt, and it's hardback. And this one is called Story Quilt 2, and it's paperback. I just think those are really neat. Another interesting thing that I've done recently with some of my patterns is I have converted them to spiral. I think it costs, well, I think now it costs about $10 to do this. And so you take it to the UPS store or sometimes other like private packing shipping companies, office companies, maybe even Staples will do this for you. And so my UPS store, I think he charged me $10 a book, and he cuts off the binding and he puts the spiral on it, and then it makes it spiral bound so it's easy to open up and use it. So that was just a neat thing that that I really liked about it. This was not my idea. I watched another video or I read a blog, I don't remember quite now, but I took about 7 or 8 of my quilt books in and had this done, and I just find it great. I really like that. Another neat thing I've gotten for a few years, and you can see I have quite a few of these. So is the Missouri Star Quilt Company block magazine. I don't get a whole lot of quilt magazines, although you can get them from the library if you subscribe to Libby and you get Libby on your Kindle. You can also read Libby books on your computer so you can view it in color, or on your iPad, and you could get quilt magazines there as well. I've done that with cross stitch magazines, so that's a great place to get free patterns. The block magazine I subscribe to, and again, no one is paying me for this or providing anything. This is just my own opinions, but I really like this. It can be a little pricey. I personally think it's worth it, but you have to decide that for yourself. But the block magazine I get from Missouri Star, and I think it's around $50 for a subscription to the magazine. And for that you get a book every other month. So it alternates months, so you get six books for that $50. But there's no ads in the book. There's no ads. It's bound like a quilt book, not like a magazine. And they're thick. On the back, it shows you most of the quilts and projects that are in the book. So when you first get it, you can look right on the back and see what's included. And because it's Missouri Star Quilt, you know, they have great tutorials and ideas, but sometimes it's even just fun to look through them and see what they're doing and what kind of projects they thought of. I have quite a stack. I think I've gotten this for 2 or 3 years, and I have it set up to debit automatically. But you wouldn't have to do that. I don't. I think you can get them individually on their website. If you're interested, you might want to check it out. But I find it's just a fun little surprise that I get every other month, and it has a bunch of ideas and unique projects that I never thought of. Anyway, that's my thoughts on quilt patterns. I hope some of that helped you. If you're a new quilter, if you are on a budget quilter, you can get lots of patterns online. I've done that plenty. But if you're a new quilter, don't limit yourself to so-called easy patterns. Only limit yourself by what you like. If you like something, try it. You're going to learn way more by messing up than you would ever learn from a boring quilt pattern that you don't finish. Anyway, I hope that was helpful. I'm really glad you came to my channel today. Have a great day. Bye-bye.